Okay, Kelly, take it away. Looking forward to hearing about Budapest and Prague. Thank you for being with us.
Sandy. Thanks. It's always fun to do this. Like I was saying to Sandy before everyone got on, the years go by after you take these amazing trips, and I have photo books and everything else, but you forget to look at them. So it was really a fun way to go back and relive the trip preparing for tonight. So thank you for joining me. My friend Midge Fricano, who is Lake Country Real Estate here in Auburn, and I jumped on this opportunity in October of 2019, about 4 or 5 months before COVID shut us down. So just before I get started, I will put a plug in. I use Gate One Travel. It's gate1thedigit.travel.com. They have amazing value vacations. I've gone with them 4 times and I would highly recommend them. And interestingly, they're out of my hometown outside of Philadelphia, down in Fort Washington, Pennsylvania. So if you're looking to go abroad and want a good deal, good 3-star tourist class hotels, I would recommend Gate One Travel. So I'm going to start here. I think I can. So I'm going to dedicate tonight's presentation to my mom. This is my mom, Phyllis Buck. She would have been 85 years old today. We lost her 20 years ago, way too young. And she was a big traveler. So I'm just throwing that in to kick us off. So here is a map of what Midge and I did 2.5 years ago. We flew into Budapest. We had 3 nights there. Then we had the 9-hour bus ride. And I don't think it really would be 9 hours if I was driving, but it was 9 hours on the road up to Prague. And we had 3 more nights there and flew home from Prague in the Czech Republic. So we landed into Budapest. So Buda and Pest are the 2 sides of the river split by the Danube. Buda is on the west side, the left side, and Pest is on the right side. And there is an SH sound in Budapest. So this was our hotel. What is this? Can you hear me okay? My computer is saying low, yes. Might affect my audio quality. So anyway, this was our hotel. We thought it was funky and interesting. This was our room. It was small and funky and interesting and very comfortable. And usually the hotels are quite well located near subway stops, buses outside of the downtown, but easily accessed into town. So we landed that morning, we sucked it up, we went to our hotel room, we washed our face, brushed our teeth, and kept on going because you land in the morning, fly overnight. And we jumped on the bus and we went down into downtown, right onto the river of Budapest. And I did not know, one of the things about traveling for me is doing the pre-trip research and checking it out and Googling things and reading guidebooks and stuff. And that's as much fun almost as the trip itself. I did not know that Budapest was a European spa resort destination. So this is one of the famous ones, the Gellert Spa, which we did go to a couple of days later, right down across from the river. This is the Liberty Bridge, and back at the one we just saw way up here, and you'll see another picture of it, is the Liberty statue up on Freedom Hill. So this is connecting the Buda side to the Pest side. Just some very cool tile work on some of the architecture there. Here's a better picture of the Liberty statue. I guess it's actually, my notes say, on Gellert Hill. And just to the right is the Prague Castle. How gorgeous was that first night? That was the sunset over Prague Castle. So that looks down over the Danube. And this is one of the subway stations. So pretty nice, not better than New York City, I think. Let's see. The language was a bit just alarming. We obviously couldn't even pretend to read any of the signs, but that one struck me, so I just had to take a picture. Most people were able to speak English to be known. I didn't feel like we were cut off or lost or couldn't find help if we had needed it. So the next day, they had river cruises. You could buy a ticket that was good for 24 hours. So it was like, let's go out on the cruise during the day. And then let's, after dinner, let's go back at night and see the city. It was beautifully illuminated from at night. So hold on a minute. My father is emailing me, trying to get onto my Zoom. Okay, well, he's going to have to figure that out. So here we are on the cruise. And that is the famous chain bridge in Budapest. We're on the Danube looking up at the Buda Castle. And up here, this is St. Matthias Church, Cathedral, I guess. And if you can see here, this is the Fisherman's Bastion. This is an ancient cathedral. This is a newer 1800s, maybe 1900s addition. They kind of described it as a string of pearls are built around this gorgeous old cathedral, but it's much newer than the cathedral was. We'll go up there again in a second. This is a newer church as well. This was built in the 1800s. And then, of course, the famous Parliament building in Budapest, just incredible. It looks like a frosted wedding cake or something. Really just phenomenal. So then we unexpectedly got off. We pulled up to Margaret Island on the boat, and Midge's real name is Margaret. So we decided, and it was a gorgeous day. You can see just a beautiful, mild fall day. And we got off and we walked up and we found this gorgeous fountain, and it was playing instrumental music. And if I listened close enough, they were playing Sweet Child of Mine by Guns N' Roses, which was kind of funny. And the fountains were jumping to the music. We spent a lot of time. When we came back, Pink Floyd was playing. So that was all good for me. That's my kind of music. But you can see all the people who were out that day. It was just really gorgeous. So I've been getting into bicycling, and so we rented bikes and we rode around the island. I think we put on a whopping 5 miles total, but that's all we needed. We really were able to see the whole island. It was named for Saint Margaret, who died in 1271, I think. So 13th century convent was on this island. Now there's quite an amusement park, an outdoor amphitheater, this gorgeous park. You can see the leaves are changing. People are out, a bunch of school children in their vests. We're so cute out for an outing. And this is the okay, Sandy, can you let anybody in? My dad says he's waiting for the host to start. I don't know. So this is the convent. These are the ruins of the convent where Saint Margaret and the fellow nuns lived. And here is her tomb from 1271. You could wander all through here. Just gorgeous gardens, still fully in bloom. And then when we were done, we walked off the island on the St. Margaret's Bridge, and we jumped on a bus and we took it up to the Fisherman's Bastion and St. Matthias Church here, which was just fabulous. The architecture. And this is one of my favorite pictures from the trip. This is the Fisherman's Bastion here overlooking the river. You can see how popular it is. Lots and lots of pictures there. This is St. Matthias. Matthias, I don't know, they said the hard T, so on his horse overlooking the square. And there's the view down to the newer church here that we passed a few minutes ago on the boat. with, of course, the Parliament building in the background. We went right down into the Fisherman's Bastion, and you can just see the beautiful turrets, and it really was just striking. We went and had some lunch outside, and it was just a beautiful area to be in. And we walked over across the top to the Buda Castle. These were the armed guards there, the entrance. And again, the view down to the chain bridge from the Buda Castle, looking over to the Pest side of the river. That was a pretty cool shot through the thick walls of the battlements, I guess. I love this picture too, this couple holding hands in the fall scenery. We got back down into the city, and this is their World War I museum. Is interesting. You might remember that World War I was started when the Hungarian Archduke Franz Ferdinand was assassinated along with his wife in Sarajevo. So let me just see what my notes say about this. So the World War I museum, this sign says 1914 to 1922, a new world was born. So we did not go in, but that was interesting, with the sandbags and the key players, I guess, in the window. So we had went back to the room, we freshened up, and we came back out to go to dinner. And we had heard that Budapest has a lot of rooftop bars. So we went and found the 360-degree one, and this is a view down. This was on the Pest side of the river, down into the city, and you can see the Ferris wheel. It was nice. There was a band playing. It was fun. And then we went back down to the river and did the nighttime cruise. And I mean, the illumination, everybody said the illumination, you got to go. And you can see, it was just gorgeous. I mean, really. There we back up to Matthias and the Fisherman's Bastion, other church we saw during the day. Then the next day, included in our package, was a city tour. It was kind of interesting that we did it all on our own first. And then the next day we did it with a group, with a tour guide. It would have been great to have had that the first day, but that wasn't how it worked. So we got with a group and we went back up to the Gellert Hill and got to see over the town. Another gorgeous view, another beautiful day. There's a good view of the chain bridge as we went by with the lions. That was our tour operator here. We're back up near St. Matthias. It's just right here is the top. This is the town area up on top of the hill. And this was a supermodel, apparently, was having a fashion shoot while we were there. And I just had to snap a picture because he was just too cool for school. And the blue hair and all these photographers following him around, no shirt. So that was funny. And then we went into one of the markets, and you know, Hungary is in Hungarian paprika. So this was all the peppers of paprika that you could buy. So we were picking out some goodies to bring our family and friends home. And this was the inside of that market. I can't remember what the name of it was. But it was right downtown, right across from the Liberty Bridge. And then we went and got our suits, and we did go to the Gellert Spa. There's another one on the Pest side, on the other side of the river. It was a long S word, but it was so Hungarian we never could spell it. Schenlyi or something like that. That one looked stupendous, but it was almost, you couldn't get there from here on the train. You had to change the train to a bus. And so we went to this one, and it was beautiful. We were not disappointed. So they had indoor and outdoor pools and swimming areas. And this was the middle of October, so it wasn't exactly warm for wet bathing suit weather out here, but we managed it. It was just beautiful. The architecture, you paid one entry fee, you got a locker. It's really nice. So then the next day we got up and we went to Prague. We were on the bus. We went past Bratislava and Vienna, but we didn't stop at either. Took us about 9 hours, and we had a good tour guide on the bus who was explaining things as we went and gave us some tips about Prague. Now, I know many people have been to Prague, not as many, I don't think, to Budapest. And I know Prague is a perennial favorite. How could it not be? It was gorgeous. But I have to say that I think Midge and I liked Budapest better. I don't know if it was because we were there first or because the weather was a little bit better or not. We loved both cities for sure. I'm leaning towards Budapest as the favorite. So anyway, there I am getting on the bus. And this is like their throughway truck stop. This was the bathroom break on the way up. So I have never seen goats on the New York Thruway, but it was pretty cool. And they have like full on buffet lunches at these stops. So it was a good stop, better than on ours. So we got to Prague. We checked into our lovely hotel and walked down to the Vltava, Vltava river. So this is not the Danube, it's a Vltava. And these were our first views of Prague. And it was just another gorgeous, mild evening in the middle of October. People were out in paddle boats. You could clearly rent. You can see the swan boats over on the other side. It really was breathtaking. These spires are what Prague is known for. Absolutely gorgeous. And this is the famous Charles Bridge in Prague. We went over it many times. So they got the timing better in Prague for our city tour. So the next morning we loaded up and we went out with our tour guide and a small group. And this is the Prague Castle. So I wrote down some notes. It is the largest castle complex in the world. Construction was begun in 880, a couple of years ago. It took them 9 centuries to complete it. And because it took so long, architectural styles changed. So there are 3 different architectural styles in the Prague Castle complex. This is the interior courtyard, and that is the well. And it is covered with that iron lattice work to keep invading enemies from throwing poison or dead animals down into the well and poisoning it. So I thought that was interesting. And here we are into the beautiful cathedral. And the outside, all, gold inlay. And then when you're done, you go out the back and you kind of walk down this hill to get back down to the bottom. And the view of Prague was just beautiful. These are vineyards here right up still in the castle complex. I just thought that roof line was magnificent with the red tile. And then we got a cruise on the river included in this city tour as well. So here we are down in our little wooden boat that looks a lot like this one. Looking back up to the Prague Castle complex, and you can get an idea of how huge it was. And we went through under the bridge, and then we went back. So afterwards, we were released down there and we were on our own and we wandered in. This is the Old Town Square, and this is Our Lady of Tyn or Tyne Church, T-Y-N. Just magnificent. I mean, look at this. It's just old, the late Gothic period. It was just phenomenal. So many people here. And then this is the famous astronomical clock. It does have like cuckoo on the hundreds and hundreds of people will gather here at the top of every hour to watch the people come out as it's chiming and gonging. You can see it's about 10 of the hour here. People are starting to gather and build up. There's a bunch of restaurants and places to have a good Czech beer right over here. And that's that Lady of Tin church again. And so you can kind of see it's ringing, and the saints or whoever it is comes up to the window, and it was really awesome. So the Jewish communities were a huge part of both cities, Budapest and Prague, had huge, large Jewish populations. This is the Jewish cemetery. It was closed for some reason, but I was able to shoot this through a hole in the gate. But old Jewish cemetery, and a lot of monasteries, not monasteries, oh my gosh, the Jewish worship houses of worship throughout the synagogues, throughout both cities, big Jewish museums. You know, they were completely wiped out during World War II, pretty much. It was very much a sense of the Jewish community in both of these cities. So, and then this, of course, was the highlight of the day. A really nice treat. We just sat here and chilled for a little while and had this ice cream treat and this baked yummy thing. And then we were heading back over the Charles Bridge, and this girl was here. I think this guy had owned these birds and was like charging people to do this and get their picture taken. He's probably mad at me, looking at me for taking a picture for free, but that was kind of funny. And so here we are walking across the famous Charles Bridge. Unbelievable statuary here. You can see the Prague Castle. This is another favorite picture from the trip with the clouds. It was just really beautiful. The cruise ship down here. So this is in the middle of the bridge. Just lots of people hanging out. There were vendors selling stuff. It was really lovely. We got to the other side through the gate. So I'm going to go back one. So this is where we met the train Nazi. So in Budapest, we bought train or subway ticket, a 72-hour ticket. So no problems. For some reason, there must have been a reason, I don't recall what it is, but in Prague, we bought like 6 individual ride tickets. And when you get on a bus or a train or a subway, you have to validate them. There are machines where you literally punch your ticket to show that you've used it and when you started your ride. And we got on, and there was a big cluster on there. There were a lot of people coming and going. There was a woman with a baby in a carriage, and she couldn't maneuver. So we didn't do it. We were not trying to be criminals, but we did not validate our tickets. And they have like marshals riding incognito on here to catch criminals like Midge and me. So he literally grabbed it and drug us, well, not literally, but took us off the train at the next stop. And at each stop, there's a big sign and there's a emblem that matches their badge. And so he had his badge and he held it up. You see, do you agree that I'm legitimate? I'm not trying to rip you off, but he wanted cash on the spot for not validating our ticket. And we played dumb American tourists, but we have our ticket. Why are you being mean to us? But he wasn't about to let us off the hook. And so I think he took Midge's passport, something. So we were kind of trapped. And so we had to fork over the dough. Maybe it was 800 Czech krona. I can't remember how much it was. It ended up being like maybe $14. And we asked, if we don't pay, then we were going to get an escorted trip down to the police station. So it just wasn't worth it. He gave us cash payment receipt. He was above board. It was an accurate thing. And so we learned our lesson. And one thing that we really noticed, especially in Prague, was anyone who was older than 30, 35 years old grew up behind the Iron Curtain, right? And so they're not warm and fuzzy people. Customer service 30 years later, after the wall came down, is still, you can still see that it's a struggle for some. And this guy really was, I guess, maybe not a Nazi, but a Soviet. I mean, he really had been, he was our age. So he had, I don't know. So he still had that persona. We did notice it in several of our dealings at some of the restaurants. They just unsmiling, and yet we really didn't have any problems. Everyone was pretty pleasant and helpful, especially the younger people who were not raised behind the Iron Curtain. So anyway, that was just a point. If you go, make sure you validate your ticket. So we went back to the room, we freshened up, we came out for dinner. And we were looking for a place to eat, and somebody said that there was an awesome restaurant. This is Franz Kafka's estate, right on the river. This is kind of a funny, interesting sculpture here, but you go through like the main gates into his estate and you go down the hill to the river, and there was the most stupendous restaurant right on the river. You can see there's the Charles Bridge. And we treated each other, we treated ourselves. We got a bottle of wine and we had full sit down knife and fork dinner. And it was like a treat, a highlight of the trip. It was really just lovely. And then the next day we got on, it was rainy and overcast, and I had heard about this place. We went to Kutna. We jumped on the train. It was about 40 miles outside of Prague. And they have this Ossowary, it's the Sedlich Ossowary Church, bone church. And look at it, it was phenomenal. So back in the 13 and 1400s, thousands and thousands perished from the plague and the Hussite wars. And they have a cemetery in the back that literally got filled up with like 40,000 bodies. And they didn't know what to do with them. And so they exhumed all the bodies and they brought them in, and the priests from the church started stacking them in pyramids. And their goal was not to be ghoulish or weird or scary. It was really to honor the dead. And the story was quite moving. And Midge could have passed on this, and in the end was so glad that we came. I mean, when have you ever seen anything like this? It was the whole inside of the church. I have several pictures, but it was about 40,000 people are honored here in this church, and people come from all over. It's sort of a pilgrimage to check this out. So it was something like I had never seen before. So this is the Schwarzenberg family crest that they did. This is all human bones. And you can see it's just piles and piles. And these are like all femurs and the skulls. So this is interesting. This is these warriors from the Hussite Wars in the 1400s, fatal injuries caused by swords, flails, maces, and arrows. And you can see the damage done from these weapons on their skulls. So it's quite interesting. I thought that was really cool. And then when we were done, we went down outside and walked around. This is the cemetery in the back. And then we jumped on the local bus and we went to the other side of town to this gorgeous, this is St. Barbara's Cathedral. I wish it wasn't so socked in, but look at the roof line of that. I mean, the architecture was just breathtaking. And then we went and we looked over the little village of Kutna. These are vineyards here. It's all up here is all walled in. And then we sat outside. We had a Kutna beer because, of course, Czech beer is second to none, except maybe Belgium. And then we're almost done. So we went back to, this was the view from our hotel room in Prague. And then the next day we flew home, we chased the sunset all the way back to Newark and got home. So that is what I have. So thanks for listening. Any questions or comments? I'd love to hear other people's stories who've been there. Anyone? Sandy, you want to unmute people? I don't know.
Sure. Thank you, Kelly. That was really, I mean, as you say, the architecture is just stunning. You know, it was really, that was a treat. Is there anyone who has any questions for Kelly? You can unmute yourself or type it in the chat, either way.
So someone was in the chat earlier, said that they had been there the year before. I don't know if you have anything else you'd like to share. Or... Okay, it's really weird talking to a silent, no picture group.
Kelly, can you hear me?
I can hear you, Sandy.
Carolyn, can you hear me?
Someone else,
It's
yes.
Carol. It's Carolyn Connors.
Hi, Carolyn. How are you?
Hi. Alan and I went on the Viking River cruise, and we started in Budapest in 2013. And I can't remember, is Parliament on the Buda side or on the Pest side? The great big Parliament building?
Pest.
Pest side. Okay.
Yes.
Did you go along the wall that's along the Danube where there's shoes and purses and
From the Holocaust, yes.
from the Holocaust?
Oh, God, did that make you cry or what?
Yeah, that was just heartbreaking. And I didn't know whether you had anything to say about that. You didn't have any pictures of it.
I didn't. We saw it from the boat and I couldn't really zoom in.
Oh, okay. Because we walked along that wall.
We should have gone by there. Yeah.
It was horrifying.
Yep.
It's beautiful. The two cities are just beautiful.
Did you have a preference? They're
No,
different.
it was the first place that we went to, and you land at dawn and you're exhausted. And I have to say that Budapest is a blur in my mind because it was the first of 15 days. And
Right.
we did stop in Bratislava and also Vienna, and ended up in Amsterdam. But Budapest is
all the way up the Rhine too.
Yeah,
Okay.
we did. Yeah. It was like I say, it was a 15-day grand world tour or something for a Viking River cruise. And it was fascinating. But I wanted to get on tonight because we did not go to Prague, and I wanted to be reminded of Budapest.
Yes. Yeah. It was, yes, I would go back in a minute. I think it was so much to see. The Kutna thing, that was really interesting. I wanted to go down to, I'm not going to say it right, but Cesky Krumlov, which is another ancient Czech town, but it was so far away, it just didn't make any sense. So when I heard about the Ossowary church, that was 40 minutes away. So that was easy to get to, and ended up really being something different that you just don't see here. So.
Oh, sure. Well, and the buildings being built in, 1400s, 1300s, 1200s, it was just amazing that they were still standing.
And they seem like they take good care of them. But, I was talking to my other friend, when I went to London, we just happened to be there at noon on a certain day. And that was the last time Big Ben was going to ring for like 4 years. They had to put up the scaffolding and maintain it. You can't get acid rain and stuff falling on these ancient bricks and rocks. And I remember my friend saying, gosh, that's just too bad, because really, what if your only chance to ever go to London was while the scaffolding was on Big Ben? That would be just
right.
And yet they have to do it at some point, or this stuff is going to crumble.
Well, one part of Parliament in Budapest, there was a lot of scaffolding. They said the sandstone just environment just eats it up.
Yeah, the erosion is just, and it's a soft.
But they also said it keeps people in jobs a lot.
Well, that's good. But
Thank
we
you.
also, thank you. We also heard that there were what they called ruin bars. We never found one, but there are many of them throughout Budapest, and they are the ruins in the basement of old buildings that had been bombed during the war, that had been turned into cocktail bars. I really wanted to see one of those, but our time was limited, and we sure filled it in. So we made the one rooftop bar.
Thank you again, Kelly.
All right. Thanks, Sandy.
All
Thanks,
right.
everybody.
Yeah, thank you. Makes me want to get traveling again.
It does.